guys, welcome back to the But It's Not That Serious podcast. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome, thank you. If you want to learn a little bit more about what this podcast is about and what I talk about, please tune into my very, very first episode, which is not that many episodes ago because this is episode 3. And in episode 2, we talked about how engineering is not that serious. I had my friend Alyssa over, and it was really just more of an interview, honestly, but we just kind of talked about how we felt as an engineering student and now 2 years out of college and in industry, just talking about our thoughts and opinions about the process in general. So if you're interested in that, please check out episode 2. Today's episode is not about engineering whatsoever. I actually have my guest right next to me, sleeping on the job. His name is Harvey. So today I'm going to be talking about my cats. I actually have 2 of them. One of them is actually not in frame. He is next to me, but he's just not in frame. And today the episode's title is called Cats Are Not Low Maintenance. And I think this is going to be a very helpful episode for those who are thinking about getting their first cat. It might have been a really, really helpful episode for those that felt really lonely during COVID and then adopted cats just honestly out of a whim. But anywho, if you're thinking about getting a cat or if this is your first pet since ever, then this is going to be a very, very helpful episode for you because that is where I come from. So before we get into the meat of the conversation, of which I have about 3 topics about. So again, I'm going to be looking at my trusty little iPad here. I'm going to give a little bit of history of my pet owning experience and just a few disclaimers because I think that some things that I'm going to say are going to be a little controversial, maybe, might make me seem like a pretty bad pet owner, although I assure you I'm not because my cats love me, I feed them, they're happy and not overweight because they get their exercise and they play with all their toys all the time. Anywho, my pet owning history is very short and it consists of 2 cats, of which I have now. Meaning that up until the age of 22, at least in my memory, I have not owned a single pet other than betta fish specifically, which I'm not going to talk about because they died very tragic deaths. But yeah, my family actually did have a dog when we first immigrated to the US. But we had to unfortunately give Hillary away, so Hillary was the name of the dog, because we were moving into an apartment situation. And if you didn't know, most apartments will not allow pets unless you have them registered as emotional support animals, or if the apartment is just nice like that. So yeah, these are my first 2 cats. Their names are Sylvester, who is orange and long-haired, and Harvey, who is black and I want to say short-haired, but I think he's maybe closer to a medium hair cat. I say he's black also, but I've heard that his fur specifically is called smoke colored, where the roots are white and then they turn into black. So he looks like a black kitty, but if you kind of like dig into the roots a little bit, you can definitely see the white roots. Yeah, those are my 2 little cats. In the spectrum of cats, I would say they're actually quite nice and very calm. They don't bite. They don't scratch. They don't really scratch at furniture too much. Maybe a carpet sometimes. They never miss the litter box whatsoever. Also, if I am talking kind of slow, which I've noticed I do in my vlogs, it is because I think kind of slow and thus I speak kind of slow. And I'm also feeling a little bit sick. So I don't know what's going on, but my nasal cavity is feeling a little dry and that is making me a little kind of out of it today. So forgive me if you're falling asleep. Maybe you can listen to this while you're trying to sleep, because then it would be a good... Anyway, I'm going to break this down into 3 parts. I don't know if I mentioned that already. The first part is going to be cost, and then cons, and then pros of owning cats. And I will remind you again and again, this is coming from a standpoint of having never owned pets to now owning 2 cats. And for the 2 years that I've had them, there's been a lot of ups and downs, lots of downs. And so I'm just going to be extremely honest with you guys. And for anyone that is trying to get a cat, I think this is going to be extremely eye-opening to them. So first things first, cost. I did not loop this into pros or cons because I don't think it's necessarily either. It's just you have to do your research to see like how much things cost. But today I do want to go over, the basic things that you need to buy, but also the things that you don't think you need to buy, but you just end up buying because you think you need to buy them to make your life easier. So first, the essentials. I'm going to start at the way beginning. So when I first got them, I adopted them, by the way. Adopt, please do not shop. There are so many cats without homes that need homes, and they don't need anyone to buy a cat out there. That said, I had to pay a mandatory donation fee. So their initial donation fee was to cover their vaccinations, the microchipping, and then the neutering. And it's also a donation to the organization that runs the program that the foster mom was doing at the time, which is, I believe it was called kittensla.com, something like that. But it was for a good cause. All the money went back into the program. So each cat was about $200. I think that may have been on the pricier side in general. I'm sure if you go to a pet shelter, it's a lot cheaper than that. But the program that I got them from, it was about $200 per cat. So already $400 initial cost. I also got them an automatic litter box. Again, this is not something that you necessarily have to do. And if you can't afford it, definitely do not get an automatic litter box. It's not necessary whatsoever. But the one that I have, it's the Pet Kit Puramax. It was about $500 on Amazon. And for me, it's a wonderful investment. I have not regretted it ever since the day it came because it allows me to not have to scoop every single day, and I just have to change it out like a trash bag every 3 days. And it saves a lot of litter too, actually. So maybe with all things considered, it does save a little money, if anything. But that initial kind of cost down is definitely something you need to think about before pressing that checkout button. And then going further, their litter, I pay about $30 every 6 weeks for a 40-pound bag of Dr. Elsie's clumping clay cat litter. It's just a very basic cat litter that, it's not like it does the greatest in terms of masking smells or anything. But honestly, for all the litter that I've used, I've never found something that kind of checks all the boxes while also staying under $30. So I just kind of do with that. Their food cost me about $60 a month. And I am also going to add, let's see, I have a full list of things here, but you also should be getting a water fountain. If you didn't know, cats do not like still water whatsoever. It is a natural survival instinct that they have, that they should be drinking running water and not still water, which is extremely smart, I will say. But that means you need to buy a water fountain. They're not so expensive, but I think I bought my stainless steel one. Again, do not get plastic. The stainless steel one was about, I want to say like $25. And then the filters don't cost that much, so I'm just not going to say. So water fountain. And then the last thing I'm going to add into the essentials kind of category is a flea collar. So if you have an indoor cat, or just an outdoor cat, or even an indoor cat, I think a flea collar is pretty essential to have, just because fleas are pretty easily contractable outside. So they can come in, stick on your clothes, stick on your shoes, and once they latch onto your cat's fur, then that's it, they got fleas. So it's always important to check your cat for fleas. And if you don't want to think about it and you're willing to spend the money, then just buy a pretty nice cat collar. The one I have is about $100 per cat collar, and it lasts about 8 months. So honestly, for me, it's totally worth it. I just put it on and I don't have to think about it. But that is another added cost. So now I'm going to get into the things that you don't think cost, or I guess like the better way to phrase that is, you don't think that you need to buy, but you just kind of end up buying. So first things first is a cat tree. So this kind of banks on necessary and not so necessary, because technically you don't need a cat tree, but honestly it's highly recommended because they want to feel that sense of adventure and climb up high, and they like to establish sort of a safe spot within the home, and usually that's at a higher location. So that is kind of where they feel safe, and usually a cat tree is highly recommended for most cat owners. A decent one will start at around $70 to $80, and I think that's pretty reasonable, but for me, I like to keep my furniture and the theme of my house cohesive, and a lot of the cheaper ones look pretty janky, even though they're like quote-unquote good quality. So if you want something prettier, more modern looking, blah 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 blah, those probably start at around, I want to say like $100 to $150. So yeah, that's that. The other thing that you probably need to buy is a lot of scratchers. So cats like to scratch at things. In the wild, they would be scratching, trees, bark, things like that. But obviously in a house, they do not have those things. And so to sharpen their nails, they will scratch at your furniture and your carpet, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes you paid a lot for that couch, and you don't want your leather couch to be scratched up. So you need to put scratchers around the house, and sometimes those are really fugly. And I hate to admit it, but you kind of just need them if you want to protect your furniture. So those can cost, the cheapest ones are probably maybe like $2 to $5. So it's really not that much, but for anything that is a little better quality, of course, the price goes up from there. The next thing is cleaning products. Holy crap. I've spent so much on de-hairifying products. So before I had this couch, which is made of like a chenille fabric, I was sharing my roommate's leather couch, which I am so apologetic for because that couch is absolutely ruined by my cats. But I had put on a sort of jersey material cover on that couch, which didn't do shit, honestly. But so this is what I use now, the Chom Chom. My friend actually got this for me, and I think this is pretty famous. So honestly, if you don't know what that is, then just kind of search it up online. But it's basically a lint roller that is just reusable, and you don't need to buy the sticky tape. This works great on my current couch right now. The couch is free of hair maybe in about 30 seconds. Like, it's so easy. But when I had that jersey material, it just kind of didn't pick up everything. And that's when I had to use the lint roller. So Chom Chom's great, but it depends on what you're using it on. That's my review of the Chom Chom. Whatever. Not sponsored. But that said, That means for whatever material you want to clean, you need to have the proper tools for it. And a lot of the times that takes a lot of experimentation. So that's why I have so many different types of dehairifying. I'm never going to get that right. Dehairifying products. And I've landed on the Chomp Chomp, which I didn't even get. My friend got me that. So thank you, Riley. I know you're watching. And Susan. And then beyond dehairifying products, I think the next things that you always should kind of have on hand is stain removers, which you can easily buy, pet grade stain removers from Target or any Walmart probably. And then deodorizing sprays are extremely helpful. The one that worked the best in my opinion was the Scout and Honor oh my god, words are not flowing today. Deodorizing spray. That worked instantly. You sprayed it and the smell was gone. I don't know what magic they had in that bottle, but the Scout and Honor people, respect. The next thing is that I have around the house, I have quite a lot of candles around the house, which I have found to be extremely helpful. I'd like to think that it kind of burns up the odorful air and then, spits out nice flowery air. Although I'm pretty sure that's not how it works. But candles have been extremely helpful. And of course, just lint rollers. So I have my Chom Chom, but I'm also not going to use that on my clothes. So I have lint rollers just kind of laying around near my closet and near the front door so that I can just kind of sticky tape everything before I step out of the house. And then I also carry one usually, although I don't have one now, in my car, which has always been super helpful. And then the final things that cost a little bit of money. Oh, by the way, the Chom Chom I think is like $20 is going to be my guess. Again, I didn't buy it, so I don't know. Stain removers, deodorizers, candles, all of that. The price varies, so I'm not really going to say, but maybe it's about $5 a month in total because a lot of these things last a very long time. So, the final things that I'm going to mention is extreme luxuries, but things that you'll probably buy. And it's the excessive amount of cat toys and cat wear. So I have collars for them for almost every holiday season, including Halloween and Christmas, of course. But I also have a multitude of sweaters that I put them in because they don't mind it. And yeah. You just kind of end up buying things for them because you think it's going to be absolutely adorable, and it is. So, it gives you a little bit of happiness. So, go buy it if you want to. And then also cat toys. So, you can never have enough cat toys. And it's always sad because you buy a cat toy and it comes with, a zip tie. And you think, oh my god, they're going to be so excited about this lobster-shaped catnip toy. No, they're going to play with the zip tie. So, just expect that. Also, cats love boxes. They love cardboard boxes. And I don't know what it is about cardboard boxes, but if you have a cardboard box, you bet your cat's going to get into it. Alright, I've had to record this in little bits and pieces, so I'm sorry if it seems a little disjointed, but we're going to get into the second section of this conversation, which is the cons. I'm going to start with the cons, and then the final section is going to be the pros, just so that we end on a good note. But for this cons section, I'm going to just list the top 3 things that still drive me crazy to this day. My apologies. And even having owned them for 2 years, I think it'll just be something that bothers me for the rest of my life and something that I've just had to grow into accepting. So the first thing is furniture. I put furniture on my notes, but honestly, it's the fact that you have to sort of rearrange the way you live. So I think earlier I mentioned that this is like a chenille fabric, and I purposely chose this couch because of, well, the shape. I like the shape, but also the fabric. And I did, very mild research on Google, and they told me that the chenille fabric is anti-pet, or pet safe is what they call it. And I believe that counts for scratching only. And yes, I've seen that they don't scratch at my couch, but they don't really scratch on my furniture anyways. So I don't really know if it's true or not, so I'll just leave it at that. But that really scratches the surface, haha, pun not intended. But I also mentioned that you have to have scratchers around the house. And for a lot of people, that might bother them because it truly is an eyesore. A lot of these scratchers are not pretty at all, and they're not nice to look at. But it's for the happiness of the cats. And your cats do not care about what your house looks like. They care about if they can scratch things, when they can eat. They're animals. They want to survive and they want to have fun. Some other things, definitely just having cat furniture around your house is going to be a pretty telling sign about the fact that you own cats, I guess. But also there's some mannerisms that you have to learn while you have cats, especially if this is your first time owning cats. Just a fair warning. So my cats, thank God, are not like this, but I've seen a few TikToks where they'll knock over glasses of water off a table or off the counter. If there's like anything on shelves, they'll knock it down. And a lot of the times it's because they are bored, which is, a sign of neglect. But I think some cats just do it out of spite. Anywho, even though they don't do it, sometimes they do run into it, or their tails kind of whack at the glass cup, and I've definitely had some shatter. Of course, it never, at least I didn't catch it both times, because they've now shattered 2 glasses, but I think their tail or something just hits it, and it just kind of falls on the floor. So that said, I've just had to grow into the fact that I can't leave glasses of water out. And especially clear glasses. I don't know what it is. They are not interested in mugs and opaque cups whatsoever. It's always clear glasses. So I have learned to never leave those out on the counter or leave those out on the table. And as for, leaving things out, also, I don't leave out food ever, unless it's already in a Tupperware. But if it's just food left out in the open, I usually don't do it, because I don't want them to make a mess, but also I don't want them to accidentally eat something toxic to them, which they don't usually eat toxic things. They're usually only interested in their cat food, which is really good, but, I don't want to risk it. I've also noticed that whenever I go plant shopping, or if I'm interested in buying plants, I don't have any plants right now. The plants you see are all fake, but I've definitely noticed that if I am interested in buying plants, you always have to check if the plants are toxic to cats. And some top plants that you should not ever buy is lilies. So yes, the flower lilies, please do not ever bring them close to a cat if you have any. And then, yeah, I guess just like the fact that you have to clean a lot is a part of life that you just have to change. So at a minimum, I vacuum every single week, because I do have a large area rug in the living room, and then I have carpet in my bedroom. So I make sure to vacuum every week, which I think if I had just had lived alone, I could probably stretch it to maybe like every 2 or 3 weeks. But because I have cats and there's cat hair literally everywhere, I do have to vacuum every single week. I also have to sweep pretty often because they track litter everywhere. And I hate it when I step on the floor and I just feel gritty sand, like poop sand on my feet. So I do Swiffer and then sweep quite often. You also have to get used to wiping the counters and wiping your tables all the time, because there is no way in hell that you can teach a cat to not do something. The only way you can really sort of train your cat to act a certain way is to divert their attention or associate a certain action with positivity. But, if you really think about it, it's kind of difficult to have the perfect cat in that case, because for a dog you can teach them what not to do and they'll understand it, but you can also teach them what to do and they'll understand that as well. For cats, they only understand one side of that, and so it's really, really hard to train them out of something that they don't want to do, especially if it's something that to them makes no sense of why they can't do it. One of those things is climbing on tables and counters. And yes, it might seem pretty unhygienic. And I think in general, your standard of hygiene is gonna be lower than when you don't have pets. But just make sure that you're wiping the counters pretty often. I always have wet wipes laying around the house. I also have a lot of rags laying around the house just to make sure that I wipe surfaces before I actually use them. And let's see. And then I think the final thing that I'm going to mention, there's definitely a lot more things that I do or don't do because of cats, now that I've lived with them for 2 years. But the last thing of which, made me think that I'm like a true cat lady now, is the fact that when I was touring this place, I can already now kind of predict whether, like, how my cats will act in a certain layout. But basically, my kitchen, from the front door to my living room, is a long hallway, of which is also my kitchen. And cats, when they have their zoomies, they are going to zoom in areas that are clear paths, meaning that they go up and down this hallway / kitchen in their zoomy hour, which sometimes is 6 a.m. and it drives me crazy. I'm going to go straight into the next thing, and it's sleep. The sleep situation drives me crazy. And I think it's just been 2 years of hoping that they'll just grow out of it. And I am actually not going to lose that hope, because they are still very young, and so they still exhibit somewhat teen energy. They're 3 years old, which now they are definitely adults, but they're still young because a lot of cats live up to, 15 plus. And I've read somewhere that until they're 5 years old, they exhibit a lot of teen energy. So I'm just waiting for that day when they turn 5 and I can sleep in. This morning, actually, they were pretty good, and they let me sleep in until 8 a.m. But most days I'll be awoken by them scuttling around or play fighting with each other or meowing or something like that at around 6 or 7 a.m. And sometimes on the weekends, I do not want to get up at 6 and 7 a.m. But, I have 2 hungry little mouths and 2 little poopy monsters that like to run around in the early morning. So yeah, I think ever since I've brought them to the house, I've had about 10 to 15 days in the 2 years that I have been able to sleep in without being awoken at least once from the hours of 4 to 7 a.m. So keep that in mind. For a lot of people, they just kind of get used to it. For me, it's been 2 years and I'm still not used to it. I still get angry at them. I still yell at them. They don't get it, because what did I say? They don't understand negative feedback. So yeah, I'm still working through that one. It's a big, big con. So if sleep is something non-negotiable for you and you don't have a partner or you don't have like a family member that is living with you that can tend to them when you cannot, I don't think you should get cats because they're going to wake you up, and that's a guarantee. I will guarantee that. The final con that I'm going to actually talk about is the noise level. So when it comes to cats, I think a lot of people think, oh, they're so quiet, they're so sly, they're slinky little ninjas. No. That is a myth. My cats, they're not... I will admit, they are much quieter than dogs because I've definitely been in houses where they have dogs, and dogs, just by nature, their presence is a lot louder than cats' presences are. But that does not mean that cats are quiet necessarily. So yes, they sleep all day, and when they're sleeping, honestly, you can't even tell that you have cats. But cats are crepuscular animals, meaning that they are most active at dawn and dusk. So my cats specifically are most active about, I want to say 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. And then in the morning, maybe 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. They're the most active. So yeah, the sleep thing, it's serious like that. But when they are having their zoomies and when they're meowing, it's pretty dang loud. I use noise canceling earplugs or noise canceling headphones, and I can still hear them over that most of the time. And the one thing that my cats do that really, really annoys me, and I kind of don't know what to do about, is the fact that Harvey likes to play fight a lot, and he doesn't really understand when the other cat doesn't like it. And so his method of play fighting is to bite Sylvester, and he doesn't draw blood or anything like that, but obviously it's uncomfortable because Sylvester is literally yowling and hissing at you like, please stop. And they're running around. Sylvester's yowling. Homeboy Harvey, he's jumping around. I don't know. It's loud. It's so freaking loud, especially when Sylvester really, really hates it and wants to get out of it. So I don't know. I'm still dealing with that. Again, these top 3 things are things that I still deal with. The sleep and the noise level and the hair, those will be the end of me. So that actually gets us into the final section of this conversation, which is the pros. And it's going to seem like I have a lot less to say about the pros, and I think it's because it can be summarized into such few words. But the good things about having cats is, I have my top 3 for these as well. 1, they are endless entertainment. These cats are so freaking cute. Like their little toe beans, their little tongues, when they're cleaning themselves, when they're playing, when they're looking at each other. It's so, so cute. And that is, when you have cats or when you're near cats, it just makes sense why the owner's camera roll is just cats. Because you want to capture every single moment, and every single moment is just so cute. And also, cats are hilarious. Sometimes my cats be doing things and I'm like, boy, you're a clown. But yeah, they offer absolutely endless entertainment, and they are entertained by the littlest things. And it's just always fun to just watch them. And it's better than, I don't know, watching TikToks. So maybe it's good for your brain rot. The next thing is that you will never be 100% lonely. And this applies to literally every pet. And honestly, the pros, I will say everything here applies to any pet if you have that deep of a bond with them. But yeah, you are never 100% lonely. So I live alone, and it does get lonely sometimes. Like, I always had roommates growing up, and it's my first time just living completely alone. And it definitely does get lonely sometimes, even with the cats, but it's never 100% lonely. Like, you can be like, oh my God, I wish my friend was here. But because the cats are here, it'll end up around 90%. So, yeah, they're my eternal buddies. And although they don't talk, they sometimes respond to what I say. So, I don't know, there's a bit of conversation going. The last thing that I want to mention is the fact that cats will give you unconditional love. And I'm speaking for my cats. I've seen some feisty cats out there. Sometimes these cats don't even like their owners. But as far as my cats go, they really do offer me unconditional love. Sometimes I'd be frustrated. Sometimes I'd be having a bad day and I yell at them for absolutely no reason, which I always feel bad about. But despite all of that, give them 5-10 minutes and they'll come running back to you and they'll still purr in your arms and they'll still greet you at the door when you come home from work. It's so cute and I truly appreciate them for being here. So it's about 9:10 right now, so they might be getting hungry. Are you hungry? I think that's one of their trigger words. If I ask them, are you hungry? He's by my feet right now. Are you hungry? Yeah. So yeah, Harvey will actually respond to that question quite often. So yeah, that's kind of the end of my spiel. Like I said, there is more to it than that, but I think every cat owner and their cat's relationships are different. My perspective and my opinions come very much from the fact that these are both my first two cats and my first two pets, actually. Duh. Now, will I get another cat after they die? Which I know is morbid to think, but it's gonna happen. So we're gonna have this conversation. Will I get another set of cats or one cat or whatever after they die? I don't think so. I think having raised two cats once is probably enough for me. Not that I hate them or anything. Obviously, I love them very much, but there are just some things that I miss at this point in time, and I think it's the sleep, it's the clean house, it's the not having to see scratchers everywhere and cat trees everywhere, etc., etc. So my answer to that is unfortunately no, and that is out of respect for the future cats that I could have had. And maybe they would have had a terrible time because I would have been stressed, and I don't want them to feel that stress. But anyway, if you are thinking of getting your first cat, I would recommend getting an older cat. I'm going to leave it at that. What a random note to leave it on. But the reason for that is actually, if you get a kitten, whatever their personality is as a kitten, it's a good chance that that is not the same personality that they're going to have in their dinosaur age and in their adult age. So I would definitely recommend getting a cat at least 1 year old, if not older. Maybe senior cat is, I don't know, maybe a senior cat is a great option. Honestly, I think I could have raised a senior cat. But then dealing with their vet bills, I think, as a first-time owner might be a little overwhelming. Anyway, I'm going to close this out at a very weird thought there. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode as well. If you're thinking about getting a cat, definitely think about it. But if you're like, hey, actually, I'm okay with all of that, then respect to you, and you are a good person for wanting a cat and giving them a wonderful home. So I love you guys very much. I'll see you guys in the next episode. I don't know what that episode is going to be, but hopefully it's, at a state where I am not feeling a little sick. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye.